Bill 2025. To officially open this inquiry, let me a very good morning to our viewers throughout the country. Very warm welcome as well to those that are tuning in at the National Parliament website and the SIBC radio broadcast. Today, the Public Accounts Committee is convening to examine the 2026 Appropriation Bill 2025 budget estimates in line with the standing orders of the National Parliament. As we all know, budget is a vital fiscal instrument that directly impacts the lives of our citizens and the overall economy of our nation. It is a fundamental responsibility of any government to present a transparent and accountable budget to Parliament. And as a legislative body, Parliament possesses the inherent authority to approve the budget, and it is the role of the PAC to scrutinize these proposals and present our findings to Parliament. So in our inquiry over the next few days, possibly weeks, our primary focus will be to focus on the assumptions outlined in the fiscal strategy document, particularly the key economic indicators and other issues that are relevant in the preparation of this budget. We will also delve into the fiscal envelope that underpins the 2026 budget estimates. And our analysis will be supported by various assessments and research and findings conducted by our parliamentary research team in collaborations with the Pacific Floating Budget Mission. We also have the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the insights from the Audit Office, who is the Secretary of the PAC. Our inquiry will engage with all accounting officers of government agencies and other relevant organizations that have been summoned to provide testimony before the committee. So to our listeners across the nation, as we embark on this important inquiry into the 2026 budget estimates, I want to emphasize that our objective is not to be unduly critical, but to ensure that the credibility and integrity of the budget are thoroughly examined and accurately reported to Parliament. Budget is a cornerstone of sound fiscal management, and it is our duty to uphold this principle. Those remarks, we will now begin our inquiry. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the committee, our inquiry will begin with the two very important institutions. One is a government agency, of course, the Central Bank of Solomon Islands. We will begin with the Central Bank of Solomon Islands to have some ideas on the performance of our economy. It is not a new exercise to you, the Governor, and all of you. Every year, you have been appearing before the committee. I do hope that time around, you will assist the committee in our inquiry. And Governor, to you, congratulations on behalf of the members of the committee on your reappointment as the Governor for another term in office. You deserve that appointment, and on behalf of the committee, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you on that appointment to this very, very important responsibility. So, without further ado, I will now invite the Governor to make a presentation to our committee.
Thank you,
Please, yes, thank you.
Chairman and PAC committee, and thank you for the congratulatory message. Basically, what I'm going to do this morning, I'll just give a brief update on what has happened or how the economy has performed up to September, perhaps, of this year, and then look at some outlook into 2026, and then provides not really, what should I say, crystal recommendations as to what should be done. We have a very capable team here to do that, but perhaps I can just give a brief overview of, or pointing to the direction where we should be heading in terms of the economy as a whole. So without wasting more time, let me just briefly look at the global economy. As we've seen that in early this year, in April, around that, the IMF projected the global economy to go down. That's when the Trump administration came up with the tariff thing. So that somehow also speed up some of those countries to front load their trading activities to avoid those tariffs. Somehow it helped the global economy. So by the latest we have in October, it is the IMF report, it projects the economy to grow by 3.2% this year and 3.1% next year. That was down from 3.3% last year. Of course, the risks are still there. There is still uncertainty out there, and the trade tension has not gone away. It's still there, and major central banks are also trying to ease their monetary policies to ensure that the impacts are not that really affected. That's basically briefly on the global side. On the domestic economy, there's a mixture of indicators of performance during the year up to September. Production and manufacturing index, it fell by 2%, and that basically comes from the lower output of logs, fish, and cocoa. It more than offsets the increase in other sectors. The labor conditions, however, improved, and this mainly comes from the mining sector. We take the SINPF contributions as proxy, and if I may want to stress one point here, Mr. Chairman, in terms of employment data, that we currently don't have employment data, but that indicator is very important for the economy to make analysis where the demand is. So I would stress that some investment is put into the National Statistics Office so that they can carry out their mandate to do that. In terms of inflation, the latest one is for September, and it's 5.7%. It's slightly up by 0.7% within our desired range, which is between 2 to 5%. But we project by the end of this year, it should be within our desired range of 5%. If we go by province, I think the main driver of this inflation is mostly domestically driven. And Auki was the one that is indicating higher prices as Gizo and Noro recorded a very low, and Honiara very low prices. Turning to the fiscal side, not to mention it will be detailed by our other team, but just on what we have in terms of the actuals up to September, we recorded a deficit of around $43 million, and this is up from $28 million the same period last year. Total debt rose by 16% from December, and currently it stands at around 25% of GDP. Also aware that our sustainable threshold is around 35%, so we have something about 10 percentage points still open for that. In terms of our external position, we have a gross reserve level of around $11 months of import cover, which is well above our comfortable threshold of 6%, 6 months. And the trade deficit has also narrowed during the period up to 9 months or September. Remittances up to September, we recorded a total of $289 million. And this mainly for the ones that we have with PAM scheme and the RAC scheme with New Zealand. And thank you to Australia and New Zealand for providing that window. In terms of the monetary conditions, broad money or money supply grew, but that basically comes from funds coming out from outside, donor inflows, as credit to private sector grew very sluggishly. In terms of interest rate, the interest rate spread is around 8.7%, and that just slightly up from 8.6% from December. And you will note that, yes, we are still the highest in the Pacific or in the region, but the interest rates has gone down. But it varies from borrower to borrower, depending on the credit risk. That's basically on the brief performance of the economy. Turning to outlook, we expect the inflation to remain within our desired range, and that's our mandate to ensure that we contain the inflation within this range. But there is risk to this, as we know that the war is still ongoing out there, and that could have an impact on supply of imported goods, especially for fuel, that might disrupt the supply chain in there. And the geopolitical tensions is still out there as well. We are also vulnerable to that. On the domestic front, we know this is the season for cyclones, so there could be some weather-related shocks to our domestic that could affect our domestic food supply. So in terms of growth, we are projecting something of around 2.7% for this year, 2.6 next year, and into the medium to long term is around, on average, 2.5%. Chairman, you will know that this is not a very impressive growth rate. We would like to see a growth rate at least a minimum of 5%. And that is something that we should all be working towards. So in saying that, perhaps just to lay out some very broad growth areas that we thought that where we can reach at least 5%, is to ensure that we also have a population growth of around more than 2%, which is one of the highest in the region, if not in the world. And there are a couple of things that we want to ensure that we reach that 5%, and to note also that we are in preparation to graduate from LDC by 2027. But in my humble view, I don't think that we will graduate, given the development trajectory that we are in at the moment. That said, perhaps some policy priorities we could focus on is achieving higher growth requires shift from short-term activity towards the long-term drivers of productivity and resilience. And the key sectors that I'm looking at, and I'm still advocating for it, is mainly the agriculture sector. I don't think that we have reached the potential for the agriculture sector, and I still think that we can still do better than what we are currently doing. In the agriculture sector, fishing, and of course mining as well is coming up. It's good to know that the mining bill is also on its way to Parliament. I think that would be it's a good starting point to ensure that the governance of the mining sector is governed properly, so that the benefits obtained from that sector is optimized. And perhaps there could be something more into that. In saying that, Chairman, there's also this idea of establishing a sovereign wealth fund that I think the government is in talking at the moment. And from my perspective, I think it's about time to establish such fund, especially when we have the mineral sector that is coming up. We did not do well in the logging sector, so this would be a good start to have that. And of course, the fishing sector too, that's one area that we can also derive the fowl, where we can get revenue for the sovereign wealth fund. So, but to start off with this fund, I think it would be good to have a legislation in place to govern the management and operation of such fund. So going forward, perhaps it will be good to have some targeted interventions and targets on few areas, as we know that we don't have enough resources, financial resources, to do everything that we want to do. So perhaps we just should focus on very targeted areas where growth can be derived from, and then moving forward on the longer term, we can broaden the base to ensure that we achieve that 5%. How to do it? I think there are ministries responsible in place, and they should come with some strategies to ensure that those are implemented. Now, the growth that we mentioned earlier, around 2%, that is based on the assumption that this current status quo will continue if we don't implement targeted policies or priorities going forward. That's it, Chairman. That's my small contribution, but I'm happy to take questions after the team. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Governor. Members of the committee, the Governor has made a presentation on the performance of the economy. You have heard what he has said. It's a real challenge for our country. And the budget itself is no exception, facing the same challenge as well. Fiscal situation don't exist in itself. I mean, it has to be read together with the way that the economy performs. And so, thank you, Governor, for those remarks. I'm really interested on the targeted areas that you have referred to. And I think most of them have been featured in the fiscal strategy document that has been presented by the government. Agriculture, mining, tourism, and other service sector. Let me just begin in asking you the question. What's your view? I mean, there has been a lot of promises and hope placed on the mining sector. If I'm right in the way that I read this fiscal strategy, there seems to be some 60 or 70% of hope on the mining industry. And I've noted that, just looking at the corporate tax, there seems to be an increase of some a significant amount of the corporate tax, particularly in relation to mining. But then when you compare the export figures, there's a decline. So I'm just interested to find out from you, Governor, what's your tracking on the capital count in terms of FDI coming in, targeting the mining industry? Is there a real inflow of foreign direct investment into the mining sector? Is that something that you pick up in your monitoring of the way that these indicators, perform? Governor. And then
Thank you.
I'll allow others, to ask questions as well.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. I suppose if you look around there's a lot of application in terms of prospecting applications for mining in the mineral sector. But I think at the moment we only have about four mining licenses been granted, but I stand to be corrected. But in terms of prospecting, there's a lot of prospecting applications coming in, and I think they're still coming. The way we see this, most of these applicants that comes in, they don't come with huge money.
I see.
Because when we ask for their financials, they will provide only what is enough to do their prospecting, which is okay, fair enough. But then we also ask, okay, can you provide the most recent 3 years audited financials? And they couldn't provide, most of them, they couldn't provide those kind of information. So we can't really certain whether these are really companies that will move on, or are they just coming into their job and then off we go. But I have a different view on this, if you
Please.
allow me on this.
Sure.
If we look at the logging sector, the history is not that really good in terms of the returns to the country. The country, I mean the government plus our resource owners. And what I've seen is happening in the mining sector is actually most of them, they are former loggers moving into the sector. And it appears that the similar practice is also, they are trying to practice in the sector. So in my view, I think we should not open up too much for the mining sector. We should just give enough. Maybe that's okay for mining license, that's enough. Whoever wants to do mining has to renegotiate whoever is, but to open it up, I think it will end up just like, regardless we have the legislation in place, I think our record of managing our resources is a bit, and this is not only for Solomon Islands.
Sure.
Most developing countries, this resource case is always an issue, and it could happen to us in this mining sector. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for expressing those views. I basically asked that question simply because of the emphasis of the targeted areas, in particular, the hope that has been placed on the mining. But we will come to the Ministry of Finance on that, why this fiscal strategy seems to put that emphasis on that. So I'll pose on that and then ask you another question on the agriculture sector.
Sorry, if I can just...
Sure, please,
Yeah, so, and on the current practice that we are doing now, we are monitoring the export receipts, proceeds from this, not only from mining, but for other exporters. We've noticed that most proceeds, they never return to the country, but under our exchange control, proceeds have to come back within 90 days or 3 months. And we've noticed that. And we've tightened this up, and it has affected some of these exporters. So some of the applications are still laying there in the office. We are not giving them approval until they show us evidence that, excuse me, the last export, the money is in their account. And I think some complaints were raised against us for doing that thing.
Is that for those that are issued with the mining license proper, or a combination of others? There are also some that are termed as what, all dealers license?
Also include...
so they are all included in that kind of an impasse that is happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it would seem that there is no real evidence of a foreign direct investment coming in, captured in the capital account for the mining sector. So it would be really interesting, why is it that we are putting a lot of hope on the mining sector? That's probably something that, we will talk to the Ministry of Finance in terms of the emphasis of where there will be hope for our country going forward. But just coming to another question on the agriculture sector, have you also noticed some kind of transfers into the country that is targeted towards the agriculture sector? For instance, either from the World Bank or IFAD? Because we have had some information from the Ministry of Agriculture that there is a kind of a grant debt transfers, coming in support of the agricultural sector. And if it is so, it is good, because I totally agree with you that, we should put a lot of emphasis in the agriculture sector. But is that something that is notable, during the course of this year or the previous year, Governor?
Thank you. I think there's some fund coming from those organizations I mentioned, but we'll check the actual figures, then come back to that. But on the agriculture itself, if I take cocoa, for example, at the moment we are producing a tonnage of annual average of 5,000 tons. And that gives us a foreign exchange of around 300-400 million. And it's the third or fourth largest foreign exchange earner in terms of our commodity, export commodities. Imagine if we increase the tonnage, double that, it will really increase our foreign exchange in that. And the good thing about cocoa is it goes right to the rural people. So that's the kind of areas that we can focus on, maybe invest more in these areas, support our farmers to increase the yield of the trees or replant or something like that. I think same with coconut as well. At the moment we are around 80,000 tons, but if we can increase that, it will also increase. Now with the added value of coconut oil, that makes it more viable to go into coconut oil and increase the volume and that.
Thank you. So, final question, and then I'll hand it over to others. Just on the, I haven't heard from you any remarks on the financial stability. We all know the pressure that the government is having on the cash flow, and it does have an impact on the suppliers, within the community that might have some exposures with within the financial system. Is that a real issue or risk that we are facing in the financial sector?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, in terms of financial stability, our financial institutions is very stable. We have well capitalized banks. As you know, like I mentioned in our monetary conditions, money supply increased, but that is mainly from inflows from outside. As credit, overall credit, it grew, but it's very small, around 2%, so it doesn't make any huge difference. The issue with apart from other regions, but if you look at in terms of non-performing loans, we are one of the highest non-performing loans in the region, if not the highest, with around 10% of NPLs in that. That in itself gives the banks more risk averse into that area. So it's something that...
We're highest in the region, did you say?
We are.
One or if not the highest, because the other neighboring countries, they are less than 10% in terms of their NPLs. Mostly around 5-6%.
But is that because you may 3 months no more than you was?
well,
pull up accounting?
not only 3 months, it goes, it has a time frame where what put them in accordance to prudential standards. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's across everywhere. Our neighboring countries here, we use the same prudential standards.
So is it something to do with there's no direct exposures to, the kind of government finance commitment to posing some
Partly
risk?
contribute to that. There's some late payments perhaps for rentals. So the landlord will have take him loan, yeah, because rental no come on time, and then build up areas.
What about service providers?
Service providers too, same. I mean,
some of it lagging from COVID time it?
COVID time we did exempt everyone. Like we told the banks to relax all those conditions, yeah, and give them holiday up to 6 months, then another 6 months, and another 6 months. But then most of these clients here, they come back and say, we don't need this. We want to pay off our loans as soon as possible. But some of them, they were really affected, especially those who are dependent on government, yeah, or service providers, yeah, a little bit.
What are your concerns about, certain financial institutions under your purview?
My concern is this one, the NPL.
What about DBSI, where there is a direct exposure on government finance? I'm really interested in the budget, no matter what is the exposure on the budget.
I think the BSI, if a little bit injection of capital, they should then there's a need of reorganization inside the institution, and I'm aware the UNCDF is helping out in establishing a core banking system, which is a very important one, and also to build up the capacity inside the institution. So if that support can continue, and I don't expect it to a one-off support, it must continue. But I think if there's any recapitalization the institution, it should should work as, at the moment we don't really supervise as the commercial banks. We do stringent supervision to the commercial banks. Yeah? We give them time to get their books right before. But once we apply go with any kind of capital adequacy something by
You stop him no more.
yeah, which is not a good thing for the government.
Sure. Any question? Oh.
Yes, can I just follow up on the earlier question from the chairman with regards to mineral sector? Yeah? Big issue, Blue Milo logging that's led to a lot of theft was the transfer pricing. And we haven't fixed it for all these years of complain about, but nothing's been done to fix it. Of course, and then in the latter years of peak below that industry, we had the determined value to try and overcome. But even that didn't really substantively address the problem. So now when we come to the mineral sector, what controls or mitigation now you will take them to ensure that, one, as you say, proceeds come back, but two, that proceeds here represent what are fair value for, world market price, less processing costs and what are reasonable, legitimate costs.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very valid and very important question to that one, and it's a concern. We suspect that there is transfer pricing going on in the gold, in the mineral sector, but we don't have any evidence of that. But just by looking at the value that we something, and there is suspect something. So apart from our side, apart from what the monitoring of ensuring that the proceeds they come back, we also, I think, we are working with the customs to ensure that the value that is recorded is actually the value that is actually or not to low value now or something, and then not sell them at high value just to get the tax something out from. So there is a association that we are signing an MOU with these two, IRD and customs on this one to ensure. But I think the government really needs to come up with a policy on this one to enforce those areas that needs attention. And like I said, it's a very concerning sector, this one. Yeah? If we don't do it right, we might be even worse than the logging sector.
But worse, definitely worse.
Will be left high and dry on this one.
It just seems to me with our approach along this one, from the word go, we are losing already when we say we, the government, the economy, resource owners, because we're totally dependent on the miners. They tell you how much they've loaded on the boat. You have no way of saying otherwise. They tell you what grade there is. We have no way of knowing independently what grade is in that. They do not tell us what associated minerals are going. We're totally blind. So the government is absolutely monopolized by the exporter. And if this doesn't concern any of you, you should all find other jobs. It really should concern all of us. And we must take steps to verify these things ourselves, not be 100% dependent on these companies to tell us. So the steps that government's doing to set up a lab is absolutely critical. Fully fund them. We're going to raise that with finance. The allocation in the budget is just not good enough. It's not going to complete that, nor supply it with the services, consumables that it needs. But Louisville Central Bank meeting also, as you quite rightly pointed out, we can't repeat what's happened in logging. But to do that, you have to have capacity independent of finance to verify that. So bauxite, for example, time bauxite go, surely you're able to look London Commodities Index. Surely there is some international benchmarking of processing costs in China, which you can deduct from commodities pricing for bauxite. And then, of course, FOB, so shipping on top of that. That should give us a fairly, pretty close approximation of a ballpark price. Yeah. Then we know what's on the contract. But you say, if I'll make sure what's on the purchase contract now, I must come back. Still, you're vulnerable. You're going by that purchase contract. If what underpricing, you have no way of even judging, that it should be higher. I'm really concerned about that.
You're right.
I don't know what you think.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you are right in that. In fact, we do monitor the mineral prices. We have daily monitoring of the daily mineral prices, including gold, of course. From our side, in my view, I think the ministry responsible for the mines should be the ones, because the prices they said, like you mentioned, there's no one for ascertaining what is actually in those soils or something. Yeah? I think the ministry responsible should be on the ground to ensure that whatever exported, actually the volume and the exact and the estimated price of that, and they inform us that this is how much should be exported, and this is the estimated price that and then of course we will take upon that one, not to step over Joe Blonarawan, but we will definitely select the steps that we take in here. And like you said, I'm very concerned that this sector, if we don't do it right, why you may worse this one, and it's a resource that will never be renewed. Once I'm gone forever. No? And the only place that by me looking now the pit or that something, and when about people go back for stay there. And I'm very
on the matter of pricing, I think, Chairman, Central Bank does have a solemn responsibility to make sure Lohem. Leave him grade and order something. Mine's not for doing. They don't have capacity, by the way, but then we must invest in it. Budget allocations here do not reflect the significant statement that was made that mineral sector is going to be the next big thing. But you're giving them pig feed. That sector needs huge investment. So we have that lab working. We've got qualified people there to do exactly this, but it doesn't reflect it. Establishment blood no reflect him too. So that's a matter we will come to Finance Lohem and Ministry when they appear. But you, Central Bank Governor, I am disappointed. I'm very disappointed. You don't have the capacity to do this work on the pricing. And no say, that this is a matter for finance. Yes, it is a matter for finance as well. The primary responsibility must rest within finance. But you must be there to make sure finance is being honest. Because we know finance has not been honest for a very long time with regards to logging. So, let's not beat around the bush on these matters. You must have it. We trust you more than we trust finance. This is just a basic reality.
Thank you, Member, for expressing those views. Why is it that we are moving away from this EITI, Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative? It is an international self-regulatory mechanism, and it ties in all parties, from pricing to reporting to even all entities that are involved in this exercise. Why is it that we slipped out of it? What is your view on that, Governor? Is it something that, otherwise every now and then we will have, like my friend, the Honorable Member for Aukilangla, will continue to express his concern about all these things, but there has to be something, we need to tie ourselves up into some kind of a regulatory mechanism. And I thought that was the intention of EITI. We got out of it. Perhaps, in your own opinion, what do you think about it, Governor?
Thank you, Chair. Like you, yes, I'm really in favor of that one. But I remember, I think it was your initiative to establish that one. I think it's a really transparent way of ensuring that what is rightly due to the country must absolutely there. But how and when I am no continue, I think that's up to the government for them. I think I remember managing, but yeah. I'm really in that thing. If there is a chance for reviving, we will support it.
Thank you.
If like shift him come law, mifalana for managing, we will do it.
That's the way to go.
That might be better.
Yeah. Because I've read Article 4 Missions report, I think 2 years in a row that they have expressed concern about, this particular issue. It really affects governance in our fiscal frontier. And
but I guess, Chair, is if there is a decision to shift, some power has to go with them too. So that,
sure. Yeah. I think, there has to be some kind of thinking around this because we have to work very quickly on it. Yeah. What the leader was expressing is quite correct. Yeah. If you may continue to drag our feet, try something. But I'm no good for you, honestly. So we need to get something, done. And I think the writings are there. Reports. I think it was 2 consecutive Article 4 missions. IMF expressed concern about this particular sector. They were already foreseeing that this sector is going to be targeted. It's going to be a targeted sector. To transition our economy, maybe and provide that space for that growth. To happen. But what we are saying right now, just looking at the figures here, and then more so, just this report. Sometimes in May this year, this was published by the IMF. Strengthening of fiscal data governance in Solomon Islands. Your reading on the fiscal strategy document that has been presented, there seems to be a lot of blame put to civil unrest, the COVID, and so forth. What is your view on this? being an independent authority, receiving this information from fiscal plant, do you think this is really an urgent issue that we need to address? I seem to think that you may continue for blame him now. Civil unrest, COVID and all of that. You may collapse a long time come finish here. Then you may find him no more. Some good, excuse no more for hide behind or something. And one of which is basically what the IMF is now. I've been reading this, for the last 3 weeks. And when I got this document, Governor, I'm sorry that in front of the finance, but we will come to them. I mean, please, this is the inquiry. So I have all the right, to raise this issue. That I like if you continue for using now civil unrest and what COVID something is an excuse that is why we found ourselves in this pit right now. No more. This is what is lacking. This one. We need to do a lot of investment in this. Fiscal data governance. That's what we need to do. A lot of leakages. There is no control, no reporting whatsoever. So that people can put a brake on certain behavior and practices. Governor, what's your thinking on this? I think just a short reminder, no more longer the man across your would help a lot here. Please, your comment, no more.
Yes. Sorry, are you referring to the budget strategy? Or?
Well, yes, the budget strategy, but also referring to, what is being won, in this, yeah.
Yeah, I think for the budget strategy, no able for receiving many copy. So maybe,
really?
But no. But on that one, yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
you need to head over one for a copy, go Governor this time. No, please. Yeah.
I think what is mentioned by the IMF article that having a buffer is very important to do that. I think it's something. So, also having a sovereign wealth fund, it could be also used as a buffer in times of when rainy days we can hold to that fund. Yeah. So that's why it's very important to have. But it's really important to build a reserve buffer for the government to ensure that the operations can continue. And yeah, you mentioned the leakages here. I think it's well known that there are leakages that needs to, you must stop them some leakages here. And I think myself and Inland Commissioner will be meeting tomorrow exactly on some of those leakages.
Sorry, Governor, why me refer to this recent publication on the policy issues by the IMF is basically low fiscal management and governance around how now data reporting and then so forth. Yeah. And that's what is reflected in this one, which I thought that when I reflect with normal reading of this fiscal strategy, I thought that, we have overly emphasized why we found ourselves in this situation simply because of the civil unrest and what something was here, COVID and so forth. But, the real cause was even prior to those things, happening, that we were already down. No reporting, financial reporting and all of that. I'm sure Governor, the Accountant General will know this. Reporting of things, on time and giving some kind of a control mechanism, but now, I must say. But why I picked this article, which I thought these were the real solutions should come out from, that we need to invest in that kind of a reporting. But anyway, I thought that you have already picked up this article because it's very, very relevant to Solomon Islands, and we'll raise that with finance as well too. But of course, the solution of building up the buffer, the sovereign wealth and all of that, every country that have gone through that kind of a situation, when you mismanage it, bringing it back is always a difficult road there. you look at Singapore, investment of past revenues, tax revenues, a build-up in so many fronts here, SOEs, public investments, and so forth. And they have been protecting it right up till this very day. Even though there were attempts to try to break it up and then use it up, but Singapore held on to having those investment. And they were quite successful in it, I must say. That was one of the success stories of Singapore. Loyumi, I think we can have them in all these statements, but I think building it up again, it's going to be a very difficult road. We had donors that helped us in the past to build these buffers here. And those donors, were the first one, Yumi Cheshimot out too. Somehow they were not treated well. The European Union and so forth. That was the history of that reserve. Good Sambalo Yumi Milaya Olbat Lohem. I'm telling you the truth about the history of building up that reserve. We were held by the European Union. That huge, cash reserve that had been held up in Brussels, and then we had to ask them, to be able to bring it over, to help us during those global financial crises. And that was the thing that helped us to build up that reserve. Once we finish it, that was it. No more. That's the end of it, I must say. But coming back to the point, I'm just talking about, this fiscal strategy document, and Governor, I think you have mentioned some very important point here, to what we should do. And thank you for those contributions. Any other questions, please?
Just follow up normal mineral sector. Side look gold. So I was looking at the revenue projections here. I just on a reasonableness basis at the general level, I couldn't quite track the expected increase in volume of production and export. But the aspect that Barava worried me is the windfall profits that come from the increased price. So price has been hovering, almost around the 4,000 US per ounce. What now? Look, blue this one. Look, mino Barava get them act blue me together yet, so we get a fair chunk of that windfall for the same amount of volume of production. So I can, in terms of volume, I can see, I think the base of it is volume, the increase. But I was expecting a really exponential increase that would be purely windfall gain. But looking. So the figure itself looks to me, on gold in particular, looks to me unreasonably low. You have some views on this one? You track it? You must be tracking it.
Yes, thank you.
And the fact where the resource rent taxation regime, we about finessing that aspect of him to him work against us.
Yeah, thank you. For this particular, for gold, we expect the production, the volume to increase, and definitely I think it will increase. But the concern comes back to pricing again. Whether that increase in volume will also have an impact to increase low pricing too. At the moment, the gold price is really high, more than 4,000 per ounce. And if we are at least close or around 4,000 something, I think it will be better. Or even same price to where Baba Elohim. But the thing is, come again to the management, the governance of those things. Again, by me repeat, it's very concerning if all the responsible authorities, including ourselves, I think we really need to coordinate.
So how much?
That's one thing that I see that it needs, I think, further coordination more. This area, this transfer pricing, and but I like him for you ensure that addressed. If there is real transfer pricing exists, which in our view we suspect there is, but we need to get some evidence on that too.
So how much is the average, seeing all the purchase or the sale contracts for gold in particular, just as an example? Time price hover around the 4,000 US per ounce market. What now average price ogata se sell him this time per ounce? You must be seeing that kind of.
We have the data. I can provide that, but for Kamatlo, Brent Blooming this time, but we can definitely
We'll probably ask the controller.
support that data on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We'll probably ask the controller when you come to that.
Maybe, yeah, he has.
Governor, is it a concern to you that, you know, the majority of foreign investors in the mining sector come from a particular number by region or something, that somehow are off the hook in some of these international regulatory mechanisms? Is that an issue, or that shouldn't be an issue?
Well, what we observe at the moment, I think that most of these applicants here, they come from the same region or something, but I'm very concerning to you. That's why the due diligence really needs to do. But so we try to do that, and there's also another challenge. So they want to use our financial intelligence unit to do the checks, but we ourselves are not well equipped to do those. Because there's a lot of requests coming in that you do this one, you do this one. As much as possible, we want to strengthen our FIU. Resource a little bit constrained, but that is not to shy away from our responsibility. And so these things them come additional challenge more for. So I think the best thing is just say no more law. The ones that is suspected, them no, it's not a genuine investor. You may say no, go look at the no one. Make them no. And impressor law. FIU unit.
That will come back to the question. I mean, regions or countries that are not affiliated to certain international regulatory mechanism, will always, get out of, the reporting part, So that issue, Aukilang regime about transfer pricing, I mean, that has been the case in the logging industry in the past. So the problem of not being able to get that right information on price. And therefore, it really, in some ways, I'm undermining now application of an appropriate resource rent, regime in Chatlo Yumi. But if we got hooked into some tougher and a more well-managed regulatory arrangement, I think that will. And your offer to have to host EITI with some. For bite, and stick for whip. I think little bit normal, not big one, not big stick. I think that will help. So I think that's a very good recommendation that come out from this conversation that you may all. What's your view on that, please?
No, I agree totally. I think. As I always say to my team, we need to do things differently. If it doesn't work, then that means there's another way to do it. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
No, Jojo, you were going to ask a question? Or? Okay.
Just,
you want to ask?
Yeah,
no.
Just on all kita sambalot IFIS blue, and Kongulai water treatment plant, for example, ADB loan, I think human. And so anyway, not that you have much control over them, but they're going to come here.
Yeah.
When they come, I'll raise it with them. But Kongulai treatment plant is still in abeyance. You've got a con company, Indian company, where board like for every con man no more. Board terminate him. Then was government blacklist him out come India.
German no more you give.
Oh, German.
Yeah, German.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
using language blood PNG, German.
Oh, true. Oh, German,
yeah.
And so it's caused problems, soil and water taken off the SOE schedule, we'll go back under law, sewer act there. But now the board, same issue come up more, CEO resigned, one other member resigned, same issue no more. But this issue was totally ADB's fault. Because now cheapest, this thing about the cheapest bidder getting regardless of, so even ADB's due diligence, this appears to me to be useless. Not sure, but useless. Can I use the word useless? Or maybe defective or not good. Yeah. As is borne by the evidence on this matter. But I note also, this is consistently a problem, Tina Hydro.
Exactly.
We've just given another, so how much, but 75 million US more or something, was it? Upgrade all international warfare. ADB too, yeah, and go up more. ADB is a real problem. I've got friend Blumi helping me too much too, yeah, but when it comes to these, or the county, or the loan you may take him, you have some agency in this as the central bank, obviously, or finance sign off law or something, but also sign too quick, no problem, Blumi, I think.
What do you think, Governor, please?
Governor, yes, yeah.
I think government have got an upper hand law that one, yeah. Although we have, even if we want to see ADB or seek funds from ADB, we have to go through the government, so we don't really. But yeah, I think the questions raised here, I'm really. It's about time for these IFIs too to relook at themselves on how their support, and perhaps their procurement system too, and then needs to be reviewed or something. And I always advocate for, this is not only for ADB, but for others, IFIs and MDBs, yeah? That if there's any assistance to any country at all, especially for developing countries like Solomon Islands, it has to be fit for purpose. You just don't push your agenda, and then just to tick off the box. It really needs that and you have to listen to the authorities, the local authorities, and don't try to push harder, because then by friction law there too. If you and I always tell even the IMF, some of your advices you need to really look at it. That sometimes I'm too high level and too theoretical, that have no fit in the context. That really need, and listen to the local people. So yeah, like I said, it's something that perhaps in that case, the procurement system, maybe really for listening to local authorities, I think.
Thank you.
Just one final concern. You already flagged it, Governor, but Losaidlo jobs, this is an issue. I've been in Parliament now a few years, and every year I raise him no more. Time you will come, time Minister move budget law floor, I always raise him this. And I've been in Parliament a few years now. No any attempt has been taken. We should be tracking jobs. How many jobs are being created? How many jobs are being lost? What's the nature of those jobs? Are they transitionary because we're building stadiums, or are they permanent, or what quality of level of incomes? What kind of something else? It ought to be one of the central aspect of government policy. The economy is to create jobs for people. It's not, economy doesn't exist for its own sake. But Yumi Bharava also Yumi no interest lo him all these years. And okay, good. NPF contribution data provides some kind of proxy, but it's not accurate. We don't know how inaccurate it is. Does it represent half? Does it represent 3/4 or less than half? We absolutely do not know. So, obviously statistics division needs to be empowered to be able to do this, resourced, but there must be some other function that ties it to policy. So when we're looking at fiscal policy, And ME targeted that, we're going to create so many number of jobs in this sector because of these investments and so forth. But at the moment, we're just groping in the dark, blind, hoping no more.
What's your view, Governor?
Thank you. I'm glad that you raised that one, because it's really a concern. Like I briefly mentioned earlier on, employment data. It's something that we really need to guarantee. And I understand the statistics or doing survey this time. But statistics really need for resources. In my view, I'm very under-resourced. They can't do much of the work that they're supposed to do with the current resource they have here. It's a very important indicator, employment. And it's something that we have a growing population, youth, our population structure where youth now bulge out too much, and it's very important that we accommodate this through employment. And creating jobs, I think this time you may man go school, the first thing comes is for finding a job. But then there is no job, end up selling billion or something the same, which not a good thing, but at least it's getting a job. Perhaps maybe we may need to change the narrative. Instead of you go school, you aim for job, why not become an entrepreneur? But we need to establish an enabling environment for those to flourish, to ensure entrepreneurs are also catered for. So the environment provided for them, I'm sure upon. In that way, it might also create employment. But it's really an issue that we really need to get down on it. And before we know how many people are employed or semi-employed or something the same, we need to get the data right too. So that's why we need to get the employment data. And it's not if or should, but it's a must. And we must do something. I think it should also be prioritized in the budget or somewhere. Something.
You're absolutely correct, yeah.
Last one for me.
Sure, yeah, okay.
In your introductory comments, you were looking at projections for the future, and you think that in the mid to long term, growth by HEMI steadily come down and steady at about 2.5%. Why is that? You don't expect the status quo to change in terms of government fiscal policy and investments and so forth?
Thank you. So that assumption is based that it will grow, but grow on the same pace. So we might have some production volumes might increase, but it will be on the same. So there is no actually like a fully forced or targeted something for increasing volume big enough for trigger that 5% growth. Yeah. So that 2.5% on average is like, okay, we continue to do things at the same pace that we are moving in, which I don't want to believe that that's how we will be going. As I hear that, I think the government is also looking at changing priorities to ensure that 5% something and something we achieve that. And also, it's also in the NDS, yeah, that by 2020, I think we should be, 2030, have an average growth of 5% or something the same. But at this rate here, looks like Bayumino Kasim too.
Yeah, just on the, when you take that, you couple with inflation projections. It was 2.5 or useless 1 through 9. Inflation, you hope it will be hovering at about that. Your inflation range, by the way,
2 to 5%.
2 to 5 years. Why is it such a huge range? Why 5%? Even at 2%, cost of living is still very expensive. We're still the highest in the region, and households are really suffering. If we are allowing it because policy will all right, goal of 5%.
And
It's
that's a very valid question. Thank you. So yeah, the 2 to 5% is not a mandatory one. It's an internal range that we are looking at, looking back at the trajectory that we've been doing in the past. And but in the past it was we are up double digit na you make a come follow me. So what we are looking at is okay, we are moving forward. Let's trim it down to a range. Then as we move further, when we see the changes in the economic activities, then we'll shrink it even further down, maybe to 2 to 3%, as happen in other advanced economies. Yeah? But for developing country, this up to 5%, I think is reasonable. For developing country, even India, what the range block time even higher, that one. Yeah? But as we develop further, then that range here should be smaller. In that, one of the areas too that we look at is how effective now is the monetary policy to contain that inflation. And much of the inflation that you may experience in this time here are more supply driven, which means that monetary policy has become useless now. Not very many teeth for bite. So it's more fiscal dominance now happening. So fiscal policy now really needs to so that's why we are gradually, and for the information of the committee as well, so we are slowly moving in modernizing our monetary policy framework as well. Very soon we will be coming up with the policy rate, just like any other central banks. At the moment we don't have any policy rate, but that's something that we are also working on.
But I don't think you should move faster in modernizing.
Oh, very
you keep it at a pace that
on incremental basis.
One point, Milagamo, point that you made about we need to change the narrative or our drive to educate our people that they have to become more enterprising. The other aspect to explain how we seems to be not seeing that growth in the labor force is if you look at some of these transition economy and others that are actually moving up, they're developing economies, they have that middle level there, small medium enterprise, India, Indonesia, and all of these. So that is the way it's that somehow it becomes more efficient for you to really collect him now. The potential labor force that emerge out of those markets. Luimilo here, small SME, what do you think about that? I don't seem to see that, from our strategy too here. There seems to be a lack of interest, or a sort of, how na ya, AIM, Lucinaulo, SME, DBSM no strong no more, so every SME go down to something with SME. Are there better ways for us to really promote SME? I think that's probably one way for me to really write the pathway for moving towards creating employment there.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I totally agree. SMEs in other emerging economies here, if you combine the SMEs, they are the ones that drive the economies, their economies. So the SMEs is very important. And I mentioned earlier, we need to provide a very conducive environment for these SMEs to flourish. And I understand the Ministry of Commerce is working on this SME Innovation Hub or something the same that will train not only get a loan, but they train on basic budgeting, on how to keep the books and all that stuff. I think this is one area that you may a little bit fail into, is to, most of our people, they are very entrepreneurial, but for keeping records, a little bit, something that them a little bit lacking. And that's where the support needs to really come inside. Basic bookkeeping or budgeting on how to spend and save or save for business and to differentiate between a business and the personal something. I'm a little bit lacking too. So everything I'm the business, sometimes I go for consumption blow household no mana, which hem killing more, that very entrepreneurial something. So those areas, from our side, we are also working towards that in the financial inclusion space. So our team is also working closely with the Ministry of Commerce for doing that one. And a little bit, it's a little bit challenging area too, yeah, for getting our people when I read there for a little bit side literacy, and with the onboarding of a digital space here and becoming another challenge more for becoming a digital literacy or savvy person or something. But having an SME and change the narrative to become an entrepreneur, I think it's something that maybe a policy needs to be sorted out from that area too.
But this raises the issue, Longo. For example, facility law you follow for providing guarantee, central bank guarantee scheme for the SMEs here. I wonder how much uptake. Huh?
Still there?
No, mana?
No, it's still there, but them bus exhausted na.
Yeah, so resource small to massive.
Small. So the resource comes from Ministry of Commerce.
And how much na per year?
Putum kam naman. The initial one was about 10 million, I think. 10. Then
Because one of the issues we confront now, and I don't think we've quite, or DBSI hasn't quite worked it out. DBSI is behaving exactly like the commercial banks now. And of course, development financing is expensive, it's risky. And so interest rate both them higher than what commercial bank more. And of course, they want it fully secured. So you don't have a registered property, you fall back on the central bank guarantee scheme, and if it's not there, then I'm hard. If you're talking about entrepreneurs and young people coming back from universities or, skills from Palm and coming back and setting up an all-semi, they have no security, no equity, no chance. Well, forget about talking about entrepreneurs. It'll be very, very difficult. We don't have the kind of resources for supporting what for doing. So we need to rethink that guarantee scheme. A good one. Must put them stuck selling them. But that can't be the only one. There must be some other ways that we help to support what the young people believe in.
I agree. I think, especially with our PALM scheme workers coming back, I see that some of them are very, because of the exposure and experience of government, come with better enterprising. But we need to support them in that area. I think once a policy is in place, from our side, we are willing to support. We can even place some seed money to support that area, but we need initiatives. That we have a facility in place, but for exporters, only. But we are looking at expanding it to other sectors as well.
Speaking of palm, earlier on you referred to remittances where it come from, mostly palm and RSE or New Zealand. It was 289 million, if I remember correctly. To September. It sounds a bit on the low side. I'd been expecting it'll be at least $500 million. I mean, you make Kasim 10,000 people now go here, meeting Sebe. Kind number of 289 it, before time you make Kasim 5,000, no me reme.
Yes, you are right, Chairman. Hemlo 21% lower than the same period last year. And the reason being, one of the reasons being that most of the palm workers would go at the 2 to 4 years contract, and most of those contracts end last year. So most of them would come back. Some follow new ones go. So drop reflect him. So those ones, their contract lapsed last year. Come back.
I was reading somewhere that the PALM scheme is worth slightly over 2 billion Australian dollars a year to the Australian economy. So, meeting us, perhaps you have a responsibility with Ministry of Finance to put together the figures to make a case, Golo PALM scheme, Golo Australia especially, and say, you know, kind of deduct for airfare and deduct for accommodation or deduct for remittances or visa and all the rest of it. They shouldn't be deducting. They're getting more out of this PALM scheme than we are. But we're not negotiating in strength because we don't have the data. So somebody should be collecting that data. It seems you're at the front line of the data harvesting on this matter. If it's worth more than 2 billion Australian to them, and we're getting 289 million or 300 or 400, Solomon, that's nothing. You must nego me or not deducting out fee from what workman blue me.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's something that the government, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other agencies.
You put on foreign affairs, but no anything happen now.
I'll send me for protocol.
Yes. Well, maybe providing some information to them and foreign affairs and what others that can, you know, push some kind of a negotiation on this. I think
Yes,
it's a
Chair.
compelling case for you to present to them. Why?
Yeah, no.
Governor.
I support what the MP for Auckland telling me, and I think it's time that again come back to coordination where different agencies to work together. And 2 billion mentioned, yeah, that's a huge something, and maybe you may need for story a little bit more with them Australia.
Okay, good. Well, Governor, I think we've done very well the first part of the morning here and now going up to lunch. Thank you so much for engaging with the committee. But we are applying a little bit of a Trump rule here, that you may run, you may do everything, no main jet lawyer, so you will have to sit around and then listen to what now finance are going to say. Yeah.
I was going to respond to you.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a Trump rule, yeah, where everything in the open now. And you are the two very key people that will lay the, you know, the whole foundation along our discussion in this budget. So thank you, Governor, for that. Now you can have a time to listen to the Secretary of Finance and his team. Secretary of Finance, we thought that, you know, we will put both of you in the same table no more this morning, so that you may know, yeah, you may find him some way for really balance him now the way that we converse around the issue that is now before us. So thank you for appearing before the committee, Secretary of Finance. We have got the bricks on Monday or what time? Monday. We've done it the best that we could, you know, to put all the information together and then help the committee to be able to carry out their responsibility under the standing order. We've also been given the copy of the fiscal strategy document that you have. It is launched, as well as other supporting documents that have been presented. So welcome to the committee. What we might do here is for you to go straight to the fiscal strategy and then lay the foundation along what do you think the fiscal framework that the 2026 budget is premised on. So what to you? You can introduce your team, but I think, you know, we will. We want to know what's the foundation of how you gone about the preparation of this budget. Secretary of Finance, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and your team, and also thank you for inviting us through this joint appearance before your committee this morning. So, going straight to the substantive question that you put forward, Mr. Chairman, in terms of the basis for our modeling, in terms of come up with the fiscal perimeter in 2026 budget. There are three assumptions or three bases that forms the perimeter for the 2026 fiscal envelope that present before you this morning, Mr. Chairman. The first assumption is basically on the recent historical performance in terms of our revenue, especially after the COVID, Mr. Chairman. So in 2024 and 25, especially 25 this year, Mr. Chairman, we have observed an increase in terms of, or an improvement, significant improvement in terms of domestic revenue. That is the first assumption. And for this year, especially year-to-date September, in terms of revenue collection, Mr. Chairman, we have reached up to 98% up to September. This is pro rata preliminary data that we receive, especially our three major revenue stream or revenue sources include inland revenue, up to September, around 103% above projected pro rata up to end of September, 103% based on our forecast. Custom, roughly around 100% collection. Unfortunately, non-tax revenue recorded at around 76%. But as I've said, the stronger performance from inland revenue and customs somehow give us a space that is consistent to what we project on pro rata basis. So that is number one assumption that forms the parameter for our fiscal envelope 2026 budget. The second assumption, Mr. Chairman, is on the agenda that discussed with the central bank is on our forecast growth for 2006, which is according to our modeling projection from the Ministry of Finance around 2.7% growth in terms of GDP. So the basis on this 2.7%, we noted, Mr. Chairman, is basically positive note on mining, fishing, agriculture, and of course, business services that we expect to drive economic growth in 2026. One that is really notable, Mr. Chairman, we discussed earlier on today is on the mining sector, contributing to growth as well as contribute to our revenue, especially from tax revenue. So that is the two bases on our forecast for next year. Just in addition on the other sectors, especially industry sector is expected to deliver a strong performance in 2026. Fishing activity, we also expect to recover in 2026. So that is the second basis. The third and final is, of course, the anticipation of budget support that we plan to receive, or we have secured some of them, and as you will see in the fiscal envelope, we have anticipated significant budget support. One is sector budget support of around 260 million, 0.6, and direct budget support include the anticipated cash balance brought forward to 2026, all total up to 517 million. So those are the three bases on the formulation and the assumption that we frame or present the fiscal envelope for 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you, PS. Well, members of the committee, PS has run us through with three underlying factors that this budget is formulated from. I just want to take you back to this fiscal strategy document and to some of the comments that I made earlier, and that is some very good commentaries on the performance of the economy and how we have found ourselves to the situation that we are faced with right now. I'm not overly emphasizing the fact that, that is what I've actually picked up from this document, but, it seems to me that we are still running around with the arguments that, the civil arrest was, it has a temporal effect in the country and the economy, and at the same time, the COVID. But if you look at the COVID situation, yeah, we were performing very well at that time. Exports have been going very well. But we are still saying that, most of the export industries in the country are still performing. They were given granted exemptions, to continue to export. Both the fishing, logging, other areas. But why I am not really, well, in some ways, I thought that, this kind of a reporter should have been better qualified by data. Is when there is a leg of data for him, back him now, this kind of a support to show that, it was because of civil unrest and so forth. I thought that, even before the civil unrest and the COVID may come, you may collapse finish here. We collapse ourselves, even before something had come. And then the situation got exacerbated no more, simply because, we have chosen, to go down that path, possibly, or for other reasons, yeah. So, just coming back to your positioning, where you are projecting how we are going to move forward. Logging is going out, yeah, and if I run across Lomi too, you want to look across Lomi about logging. Every time people talk about logging, you say Lilo na you go say, you want to cross Lomi because before Kamit, ADB was projecting that logging is going to stop. It was around 2010. I was finance minister at that time, I think, and 11. Mining is going to commence, but logging still go ahead. No more mining, no even start too. I've got something, to rebut back those criticism too. What I'm saying is that, it's going down. And this report, this is the time that, this fiscal report seems to overly, really take that position that we are down, the logging. Our aim now is to focus on the mining, agriculture, fisheries, and so forth. Last year, I remember one member was asking a question that was made by the central bank at that time that, there was some concern about, the situation of fishing. What fisheries will turn around and, we are 110% sure we will be okay. Then it turned out that the central bank questioning was quite right. I hope that this year they will not come up with, that kind of an estimation of how they're going to perform. But what I'm saying is that mining here, what makes you to believe that we will go right this time around with the mining? That is still a risky area, PS. I just want to, let's start off with that one first time and then get your feeling on that, and then you may move on to other issues. What makes you to believe that, mining will be the next, career of this economy? There are certain indications that came out from our conversation with the governor earlier on. I think those should raise a little bit of alert law on your side. And then if you look at the corporate tax projection law here, it's also on mining too here. Huge corporate tax projected on the mining sector. But when you look at the export, I'm down a little bit. What makes you to believe that, we will still do exceptionally well now that, we are really pitching our hope along the mining sector? Can we have your first reaction on that one, Mr. Secretary? Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman. Yeah, so first reaction or comment on that particular subject, Mr. Chairman. First is, of course, the content of the mineral that, according to Ministry of Mines, the deposit, for example, yeah, that Umigarem. We have huge deposit in terms of mineral, gold and nickel and bauxite and also others. That's the report that Ministry am receiving, and of course from the companies that are currently being operated. So that is available information that you may say, oh, mining definitely is a strong sector that will support growth of the economy. The second point for me, how can we realize the value of the mining where Umigarem, the deposit, yeah? I think that's the subject that earlier discussed on that with the central bank Umigarem, yeah? How can we realize in terms of the huge volume of minerals that Umigarem? So there are a couple of areas, as you may already discussing, in terms of strengthening our governance, both in terms of the Ministry of Mines, both in terms of the central bank, where they also have their legislative power in terms of the exchange control, and of course, the Ministry of Finance. So those are things that you must tighten them up, yeah? With the Ministry of Finance, Customs, including our tax offices. So I think in order to realize the benefit, the impact from the huge volume of mineral, yeah, we need to strengthen it. I think that's my my thinking and also view, Blomi. What we can do now in terms of low-hanging fruit, our team jointly with Ministry of, or with the Central Bank, Customs, and Ministry of Mines, we want to strengthen things that we can do it quickly without any changes to legislation in terms of sharing information, for example. And one particular operational matter, for example, in terms of clearing of vessels, for example, yeah? There are different approval authority. If the mining company requests for export permit, for example, Central Bank will give the approval in terms of exchange consideration, Ministry of Mines, and the final one now, controller, okay, ships have a go. But there have to be some kind of check with different authority. Okay, mines, if you like confirming volume or consignment, how did you confirm? Is it right? Kind of same. In terms of exchange control, I think one area that we feel like protected, but no, remittance of the returns, yeah. I think Central Bank will comment on that one, but how the previous shipment, how much now the return come back? Yeah, how much they obliged to return it back to Solomon in terms of foreign earning from previous. What the return come? If no more, or imi block and first time shipment. How much duty, how much royalty, or the PEM? Those checking is very, very critical in order for you to move forward. So we are putting in place our system. We have met a couple of times with our stakeholders, including controller and our tax. Because on the tax, there are other areas too, yeah, for what I must clear him. We are commissioners have applying him, yeah? Not only the normal tax, but also, like, for example, withholding tax on contractors, for example, yeah? Shipping agents. So those are checks and balance where IMI have doing so that IMI tighten up and IMI no lose out whatever export. So that is low-hanging by me say, of course, legislative. I think the honorable member for Auki talk about the geo. I think that is one of the areas that really need him this time for verifying the consignment that them go. There's in the budget this year come through supplementary for Cooktown Building Geotech, yeah? And also there's some in the budget next year for completing now. this whole geotech laboratory, OSEM. And of course, I think the last point that Miller became law legislation, where Amendment Law Act, OSEM, yeah. We are also talking with Ministry of Mines in terms of how government entity can be part of the ownership model, for example, yeah? Especially of the big mining operations. We think that the government should have some kind of stake in the big operation so that we can realize the benefit. So I think that's my view, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we have been informed that there's a huge deposit. How can we realize on that very, very huge deposit minerals that immigrants? I think that's my, reaction law, that important question that you raised.
Any question, Lord members?
Yeah, in terms of low-hanging fruit, PSME referral, this me ask him Central Bank Governor first time. This windfall law, price law, gold at the moment. Yeah.
How do you regulate that?
Yeah, what impact na garam law revenue when come law government?
So, in terms of the duty, the price that was calculated on export is based on international price that consignment hemi living country, yeah.
So 4,000 US per ounce, yeah, equal baseline.
That's what I think controller calculation of the basis. Because I think under law current act, me falamas calculating reference law international price. I think price is not an issue. I think the content is no more an issue that we have to be certain, yeah? Because the price is based on international price to calculate
for gold, silver, or nara
all other minerals,
international price too,
including bauxite and nickel.
And how do you make sure that Hembara through international price? How do you monitor that?
The price have we taken law website no more, yeah? I mean I think the London price now if I use him or customs me use him, yeah.
So content is the issue.
Content, I think that's the area that we need for strengthening, yeah.
So can you confirm to the committee that price is not the issue? You have never faced with the situation where the exporter may have undervalued the price? Because you may export, but I no seems to be reflected along this fella. We can actually show to you where you are saying, in the export. Please.
Yeah. Yeah. According to the advice that we received, I think that's the price, the international price what I use him, yeah. Based on whatever price where the world price.
So when you say the content, there are two issues here. It's the type of mineral and also the volume, isn't it? Yeah. Of each. That is a real problem now because of the lack of capacity in the ministry. It's only now that we are building that geotech laboratory. What time now you may when was it submitted? In this year's supplementary, I think. Yeah.
But not started.
So they haven't actually started. So how did you go about that problem? Yes.
Yes, so the support to Ministry of Mines, under the supplementary this year. Actually, I don't have any update on the stage of the custom this time, but for next year's budget, I think we have some support where we will provide them, including some recurrent support, especially.
But they haven't started, isn't it? They haven't started.
That's the information that we know.
Yeah.
We are at the moment, yeah.
I think we we made some inquiry, and then we found that, they haven't actually started.
Okay.
Yeah. The procurement of the service provider, I think, has not yet been done, and yeah. So there will still be a gap, and it's a huge gap from now until you may come up with them completing that geotech lab. So how are you going to deal with that? Are we just going to follow what now has been declared to us by the exporter, or coming back to what now Kilangalang I'm telling today? We are really at the whim belong over the exporters here. So, you as Secretary of Finance, I mean, what are the most effective approach that you're going to do to the situation?
Yeah, so we also tried to, well, not tried, but talk with Ministry of Mines to do some kind of sample verification that if other support can be provided to us to send our samples to Australia to ascertain some kind of constant sampling or constant content of, especially I think the issue that we face is only when it comes to gold concentrate. I think the gold door is, I think it's okay. Also, only if it's a gold concentrate plus other minerals like nickel and bauxite. I think those are the three minerals that really need some kind of.
So you have two scenarios here. Yes. One is the ones that have actually, what I would call them, alluvial miners here. Okay. So they have this license called GDL here, gold dealers license here. Amazon, yeah? Amazon. And the other is what ML here, the mining license.
Yes.
Here. So which is the one that we are going to face a lot of challenge with?
Yeah, I mean,
both of them?
Both of them, I think they have their own challenges. Yeah. I mean, different challenges, not only on the sampling, but also on the export and shipment and so forth. But I think the biggest volume is on the gold concentrate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the area that we need to.
So these are the ML holders now, yeah? The mining license holders.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think we will still have some kind of a little bit of a drop low next year, given the fact that we won't be able to have the geotech laboratory supporting the kind of initiative that you're supposed to be doing. So me thinking, by the next 6 or 7 or 8 months next year, yeah, I think we will still have this problem. Yeah? There will still be real risk that you will have to work with. Is that something that you foresee happening next year, or?
Yeah, I think in terms of you're right in terms of the value and the impact, but in terms of the production, that also form part of our projections. We anticipate higher production next year, reaching the maximum commercial production plus, I mean, some increase. But on the issue of getting the right, should have, I mean, more than what we anticipate with the current status quo. I think that's the issue that on the discussion that we discussed. If we have this proper so forth, we could have increased more than what we have, I mean, currently experience. So that's how we look at it. But in terms of production, we anticipate bigger production or higher production compared to this year.
Coming to the revenue figures that you have been talking about, you were saying that, all customs and inland revenue were doing some perfectly well, so superbly well, I think, more than 100%. Non-tax came down. Why are we still facing this cash trap somewhere there? What's the reason? Is it because of the expenditure go up? Or what is it? Or why is it that those 100%, more than 100% increase in those collections got swallowed by the expenditure demand there? Why? What's the real issue, PS?
I'll go first before
Yes.
Commissioner and
Sure.
AG. Have basically nature law budget, no, Mr. Chairman. We have a deficit budget
Okay.
since COVID or up until now, yeah. So although we have performed in terms of revenue, but to financing the deficit, yeah, now, we challenge that Mifala Ministry of Finance, trying our very best to ensure that on the revenue we make sure that we deliver the critical Mifala have to do, cash management now, yeah. So that's the only answer now that one.
Yeah.
We have a deficit budget.
Can I come back to the promise that you made to us last year? You were absolutely optimistic that revenue, that gap is going to be filled. So somehow, that gap has not been filled. That's why we have ended up with this situation. Can you confirm that?
It's going to be filled, Mr. Chairman.
Well, this year has
Only the timing and no more. Because first the anticipated budget support that we will receive, the timing has not come on as what we were expecting, because there are some policy commitments that government had to achieve. Yeah? So that is where timing has a little bit delayed, but we are working to, although it may come low, towards the end of the year, we are working to ensure that the big budget support that Mifala plan for receiving this year, the partners blame by me receiving before end of this year. So I think that's basically, as you sabe, even controlling how the donor, of course, the other multilateral in terms of their process, yeah, and of course the conditions that are given me too. But it is part of our responsibility to ensure that.
So in that kind of a situation, Mr. Secretary, would it be prudent on your part for you advising government not to be overly optimistic about certain things? Because you also cut them short too, the supply of services to the country. With that kind of advice that you give him, that, oh yeah, Baba, you may take him. Now we've got only a month or less than a month left for you, me. This year I am over now. In the meantime, services law health am no good, services law education am no good, or provincial governments are really poor for good, and all of that. Why can't we come back and then budget realistically? So part of the blame would have gone to some of you, your one sit down in charge here. It should fall squarely lo me. Even look lo me to come lo we are giving a false hope to the people below you. Come the end of the year, you may run. You go there. Clinic am open.
No more.
No. Aye. But you no more all of them. You all go to him. What kind something was him? Yeah. So why can't we come back straight and you mean budget realistically? Yeah? Knowing that there's going to be all of what we thought that is going to work out very well for us to fill in the gap here might not work. So why do we put all the hope in behind them? Why? You should come back normal or what now? Our own strength. Cleaning budget here. Follow some of the guidelines where IMF and Talem Luimilo here. Report properly. When reporting is done properly, control measures are also associated with some of this reporting responsibility. Of course, that budget supported by him come, but look like that budget supported him, you put him for next year, yeah? Is that in that 970 million? No, it's totally different. Oh, so we still haven't, if by next year that him come inside, how are we going to deal with it? Emotion. Coming back to fiscal data governance, na ya? Emotion. Fiscal data governance. You seem a little bit cowboy, a little bit go, yeah, man. All right. Follow me how now you will like travel doing me. They no more. But anyway, at least we say something to you that we must avoid it. Emotion, we have to avoid it. Emotion. And then this year we've ended up with even something to me finding out here, non-appropriated area has actually climbed up to 1.5 billion. Emotion. Is it something next year we are going to come up with a supplementary to appropriate it? Or why is it? I thought that we did very well this year, and then as we are progressing very well, we slip back. We slip back. I think we need a lot of investment law, PB law, down law, there, side of fiscal management, budget management too. Then I'll come later with some no more child comment when we like make them you time, and then others can make their comment. Wanna make some comments?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Yes, you.
Excuse me.
Please, yeah, Commissioner, you.
Yes, on the revenue, like corporate tax. Yeah? So that was actually based on law performance this year. So we expect that the corporate tax next year will be quite big in terms of the performance that have been done this year. So I think that's really why in this increase from $2.4 billion to $2.7 billion next year. And that is the commitment that it will be paid. Thank you.
I mean,
Okay.
in your date figures here, you're projecting a 315.6 million increase in taxes from companies and other entities, 344 million increase in motor vehicle license fees. Man, best new one come in. And then another 108 million increase more individual, so PAYE, I think. They seem to be significant increases without significant increases on what's happening on the ground. I don't know how many new vehicles will increase in vehicle licensing or.
Thank you. I think that the finger may be incorrect, I think.
Aye.
I think we haven't actually adjusted that figure.
Oh, yeah?
That should be the withholding tax component.
Oh, my name listed was an income law, you follow inland revenue. Anyway, you will give him some correct one. And then, just going back on Permanent Secretary's earlier comments, when reflecting on question blue with regards to minerals, export duty on minerals. So you're projecting an 85 million increase. Again, just off the top of my head, no meeting him is unreasonably low when you compare it to, a revised budget blow this year. Of course, look was a big increase of 85 million. You go from 16.4 million to 102 million. But in terms of the volumes that are going out and windfall law, price below gold at the moment here, this would seem to me, both in terms of volume and on price, to be unreasonably low. So would it be possible for you to give us the basis of this calculation, give us what tonnage projecting to be exported next year for the various minerals and price where you follow putum lohem, so that we see clearly how you've come out with the export duty projection of minerals. This is not the first time this has happened. remember in the last 3 or 4 years that I've inquired into this matter, that the figure below export duty below minerals has always been very, very low. If you go below actuals below 2020, what? No, actuals, oops, sorry, 2024 now, you will give him come actuals, and I would have to assume it's unaudited. Below export duty below minerals, $179,000 no more. Yeah. Again, I think that's simply not true. 2024, get more mining or the export now to 170, I think one whole gold dealer no more, ma'am, hit him now. So, you know, I'm not sure to what extent we can trust these figures. When was the last audited report law government accounts? What issued below what year?
Thank you, Chairman. We're just finalizing the 2019-2020, and we plan to submit the subsequent years as soon as we can so that we can close the gap.
So this is a matter we will have to come back to in light of this report below IMF. I mean, we all are groping in the dark in the absence of audited data. But governance law data, critical, and we'll come to. But I want to go back to the basis of your projections. And we just use as an example, use him already, Commissioner Law, IRDM say, or figures below, hemi wrong one. But we want to see, as an example, this one, minerals, export duty, customs.
The controller come forward and then find that part, yeah? On the export duty on mineral. Is it declining or am still increase?
I think this one is anticipated increase for next year.
But increase
But
in
what about
low.
tracking? Past 3 years, the name come forward, yeah, how was it?
It's increasing.
Increasing.
So, yes, Chairman, I don't have the composition here, but we are anticipating up to 46% increase in terms of production low mineral for next year. This projection is also take into account the new formula that we are implementing on bauxite, and this is for calculation of the price for bauxite, and also we are working on nickel. That is the one of the second basis, and also the revision of the export duty.
So give him some actual calculation, make him look. Me this thing most of no. If you take him volume, long or exports here, because some for a lot mining companies this year no more start him export here. So you add that volume next year, you expect perhaps a slight increase in the volume. But then this will windfall low side low gold there, and you will also expect increase to low volume blogata. So that increase in volume and the increase in the windfall, we would expect. I was actually thinking just gold on its own, you would be picking up 300-400 million at very least. But that's not the case. What projections will gold reach level? I'm so also man. When I visited a few months ago, or to give him what figures blogger, next year you should be collecting. Me forget them now, but definitely not this. Put on 101 million for the entire minerals export duty. No barawa. I'm look unreasonably low, me.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Garing one for the general questions no more. Look at the projection block at the income here. Reading through, let's say, the export duty blow fees here. Under finance, customs, there's an amount there. why him lower than last year. Him lower than last year. If you look at the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Fisheries, income block at him increase here. Income block at him increase, that means export him higher. And if the export is high, the duty cannot be low. How now by him say, explain him all this? I'm not me confused, let me chair.
Yes, you got that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, honourable member, I mean, looking, but I think for next year, I mean, increase to 1,037,000 law export duty law fees. In terms of apart from export duty, Mr. Chairman, in terms of fisheries revenue, I mean, there are other component law fisheries revenue. We have no part law export duty. One is, of course, the under the vessel arrangement under the PNA, selling of fishing, which is no part law this one. So I think that is the one that really big contribution law fishing revenue. Maybe I have no part law. This one mainly export. I think sold tuna and other controller, NFD and also export duty.
I get it. Me getting that one.
Yeah.
The other general question no more is you may mention him the export of gold, or minerals. me just like to get him from the ministry. One, it will mean an increase in volume of gold now. Or it could also mean an increase in license fees. It could also mean an increase in gold price. It can also mean an improvement in compliance, believe me. Do all this come together? Or even go to volume, selevanoma, and forget about compliance? Have no question, or some general one.
All three together.
Oh.
Yeah. Plus others like tax or some may anticipate him. So compliance, tax may come inside. There, and of course verification may come inside. License, new license about the issue, and of course the volume may connect the price, international price. Yeah. So yeah.
Chair, me raise him that question. Because going through the years, the story is not the same. You start law 24, you start law 20, 22, 23. The story, a little bit different more this time. It's me reading him last night. Because me sabi pa mi kam lo PhD today. So that one no me. It's just an explanation, no more. But if all three are good, I'm not even look like from 20, 21, 22, 23 custom this time. Oh, I'm by all right now. But my message, him telling me a little bit different something. But if I not look up, that's why I take your comments on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member. Any other issue more from? Just on this, the company tax here. In page 27 of your fiscal document, you referred to that improved performance from Commissioner. New companies coming in. So which companies are you referring to when you projected those new companies, additional companies coming in the mining industry? Page 27, below fiscal.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, and Thank you for that question. Basically, as I've said earlier on, in terms of the corporate tax, mining,
I know, but which companies are they? I'm sure that they would have been registered with you as potential tax payers. So which companies are they? And in which particular location or tenements? You make reference to law, last part of the sentence law there, that there will be several new mining companies. Which are these?
I mean, I couldn't really provide the names of the
Thank you.
confidentiality, but I think the Gorage, which they have said that in there,
Well, they shouldn't be
Please.
confidential because they have been issued with a mining license or issued with a PL license or whatever. So why should they be confidential? I mean, you have made that document, statement in this document and now incorporated in this fiscal strategy document. So we just wanted to know, to be comforted, we are doing an inquiry into the budget, that it has to be a credible budget. So can you provide that information? And then, discussions with the Gold Ridge, how will their financial performance feature next year? Now that, we have banked substantially on the performance of the Gold Ridge. What's the kind of financial flows coming out from the production out of Gold Ridge? Yeah. It seems that is the only commercial mining that we have right now, isn't it? So please, Commissioner, through your assessment with them and consultation with them, what's your impression?
thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think in terms of providing input to the budget, we've been consulting a number of companies in terms of how they will be contributed to next year's budget. So Gorage is one of them, and I think there's a commitment that Gorage will be making in terms of especially corporate tax and also other taxes like withholding tax, POI tax, and royalty tax and like that. So basically, I think the majority contribute in terms of the mining companies, Gorage.
So it would be correct for, just based on what the member for Aukilangalanga has stated, that increase of some 321 million for next year will be for Gold Ridge.
Majority come from Gorage.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, in addition, Commissioner explanation, over the years, you may, well, I think the story is that company have started to pay tax now since we operate with exemption, tax holiday. But now, start this year, and of course, projection next year, start for PEM tax. That is one of the basis law increase we are over the last year. No.
Okay.
Yeah, during the preparation, establishment. I think how many years, Commissioner? Tax holiday. I think 5 years or
4 years.
4 years. But that and including input duty exemption, that conclude in 2024. But this year and next year, kick in now. So that's why projection may come in strongly.
So you're applying two things here. One, exemption. The other is the tax break or the tax holiday, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
So the exemption lapse law 2024. And when will the tax break that you are giving them?
I think it's already lapsed.
Only lapse.
Tax break is already. So they will now start paying.
So that's why we
are
have
putting more
this
confidence
increase,
in.
yes.
Okay, thank you. So I think some kind of a qualification like that will make a lot of sense when you are projecting very high for next year, that the tax break or the tax holiday has actually lapsed. Yeah? Thank you. Yes, you have made, so in if you come to page 35 of your fiscal document, column, the second column, on the grants and the budget support. So all of that will be donor funded, isn't it? The grant and budget support, and so the whole of that goes into the development budget, is it?
That's correct. To finance the the deficit in 2026, Garam surplus recurrent budget compared to this year. So all the development financing, by financing now, development budget.
So the 1.1 billion development budget, come to the second last column, SIG funded development, 1.1. What percentage of that is the SIG internal revenue? What percentage would be the development or the donor funded? Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of the component there, I think one of the SIG that we refer now, we are financing deficit now is revenue carryover from 2025 to 2026. Where we estimate 170 million. So apart from that, majority of the 517 million, yeah, may come from development financing. If you
So it's more than that, 1 point something billion.
yeah. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, which column na? I think nagod may look wrong column lo, yeah.
Last column,
Last
35, yeah.
the second last column have 2025. Last column now have 2026 estimate. I think have na you refer them yeah or
No.
column.
Talking about the development budget.
Yeah, so development budget, budget support grant, HEMI 517 million projected next year. That inside the 517, yeah, 170 HEM SIG.
See.
So the rest is
All donor funded.
all
is it?
donor funded.
Thank you. Okay. You have a ratio, recurrent to development budget ratio of 80 to 20. Is that applied pro rata to all the heads, or is it something that you just generalize him no more? Has that been applied in this?
It's not automatically distributed to the sectors, but majority of the development goes to the resource and productive sector. I think it's 80,
More than 80.
more than 80%.
Oh. Well, you have a, yeah, you have a, there are certain rules that you have put. One of the rules is that the ratio between recurrent and development will be 80 to 20 of the total budget. So the question that I'm asking is that being applied generally throughout, or is it just a token statement that you make them know?
Yeah, Chairman, we have done some kind of modeling in terms of the what would I say, the I mean the what will be the most preferential distribution in terms of development and recurrent.
Yeah.
And I think for next year we have moved a little bit. I think this year is around 18%. Next year it's around 20, but our preference is to move further up 20% from the recurrent. That will be really important in terms of moving resources from the recurrent to development to support growth. I think that is the pathway that the ministry, through the modeling that we have done, to guide the government in terms of moving resources out from recurrent to the development. But with the distribution over the last years that we have, I think there are some improvement in terms of that allocations, moving more resources to development budget.
I think it's a very good guideline, but when it appears in a fiscal document like this, it can be misleading because, you know, when you apply the figures, it's quite different there. Education, for instance, I think
94.5.
it's 94.5 ratio, 94 recurrent and 5% development. So I think just a little bit careful, no more you may make a statement like this because it can be misleading. Remember, these are very influential public documents, yeah. But very good rule, yeah. Even 20% is still small for us to really transform this economy. 80% on recurrent and 20% on development. I would have thought that, you know, even that 20% overall budget would have a very, very insignificant impact on the way that, you know, we could drive real transformation in the economy. But it's a good starting point. Little bit caution no more. This is a public document. When we put it like this, and when it is put to test, it could be quite different, I must say. So that's why we are asking you those questions. Rebuilding the cash reserve, which is Governor today mentioned something about, you know, building up the sovereign wealth fund, cash reserve. Just give us some idea how you go about doing this. Yes.
I will pass it over to AG.
Or let's continue to put our hope on some miracles or windfall from the resource sector, extractive. But I think, you know, if that has to be done, some real investment has to be made in putting up a mechanism that will be able to produce this kind of a result here. But it's a very good policy expression that to work on. Yeah, please, AG.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think all we can say at this stage is a combination of both expenditure control measures as well as any apparent revenue windfall that we can expect next year, as it appears to be the case with some of the revenue line items mentioned by Commissioner Inland Revenue on the mining sector, from the mining sector, as well as other sectors which can unexpectedly turn out windfalls during the course of the year. The strategy, of course, would be to start the budget execution at the beginning of the year, and then as soon as things settle, then we can start looking at how our revenue, or first of all, how our reserves have turned out at the beginning of the year from this year. And then we can gauge how the budget support timelines will be looking like next year. So we can work out how we can put together a composition of measures, including both revenue as well as expenditure control. I think, as you know, on the expenditure side, there is always, of course, fat, so to speak, in some areas. And that can be the focus of control measures as well. These are areas which have a tendency of high wastage and leakage, and some which have to do with activities that may not be directly related to policy or the core functions of these ministries and departments. But this will, of course, be consulted with them, and we should be or could be picking it up to Cabinet for policy decision on how and what we can put in place to realize this buffer, the objective that we have set ourselves. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Just coming to the controller number, one of the very, what should I say, controversial issue recently was the size of controller's power to use the suffrage warfare for clearance of importation into the country. Is that a real issue, or is it something that is being overly exposed by Mr. Secretary? Or you want to have the controller to answer that?
Suffrage warfare. Currently, for your information, Mr. Chairman, the government established a task force to assess the suffrage warfare operations, and the report will come to the cabinet very soon, probably after the parliament. So I think that's after parliament. But in the meantime, our team, customs and inland revenue, are putting in place efforts to ensure that the operations within the suffrage swaps are compliant to our guideline. I mean,
thank you.
In terms of import and export as well. Yeah.
So can you confirm that suffrage swap is actually earning money to government revenue?
There are the collections of goods, not goods, sorry, of revenue that comes through suffrage swap. So that's correct. And as I've said, our officers are ensured that there is no leakage on the operations in the suffrage swap facilities.
So who has the exclusive power to exercise suffrage swap?
Under the Customs Act, the controller no have got power. Yeah.
I think him no more.
Yeah.
Making people clear have no more. Several time what the people all about na go cause more controversies here. So where the controller has that power, I think we should leave it to the controller. You too, but no all go to PS. Leave go controller no. So, thank you. Well, I think we have done very well with UPS. You may have him trouble time. So you may go easy no more. You may not spoil each other. But sorry for putting both of you in the same room no more at the same time for this inquiry. But I think all of you have done so well. You have guided the committee so well. So thank you so much for coming. Yes, you want to make some final comment?
I just want to not qualify, but to correct the comment made in terms of the Ministry of the Stockholm Services in terms of strict cash flow management. For this year, we don't have any reservation and no same, in terms of the budget implemented. So we are not stopping. Our priority is to ensure that critical essential services are prioritized in terms of commitment, block government. Yeah? I think that is number one. Health, education, grants, province, and also we have to ensure that there is funds available to prioritize those services. Reason why the clinic no emergency no semia, no issue we no sabe about him, but in terms of resources, we don't stop any resources. I think what MIFAL are doing no more is to ensure that there is control or the wastage and osem, yeah? I think that's the only thing that we fala ministry to make sure that that is not happen. But for this year, not like last year, we did some reservation because of the situation that we face. This year there is no reservation, but there are circulars and OSEMIA to ensure that ministries, compliance and OSEMIA. So yes, of course we have challenges, but it is our commitment in OSEM to ensure that those critical services funds are available for commitment block government OSEM. So I think I'm normally like for a little bit statement block member. I'm saying no, we don't implement any policies to stop or to block some of the services.
No shutdown.
No shutdown. Yeah. No say Trump. Yeah.
No Trump,
no
yeah.
more. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think non-UGA wants to say something.
Me like thinking my piece, the team of finance for confirming come that it will still support him every programs of government, like education and health or same. One party and one me like him for raising come when you run lawyer, and that is not the ministry law education, but a little bit part where with students' allowances. With students by exam, yeah. And as a former teacher, maybe say also, we are preparing them to fail because we are not supporting them. Allowances block it, no go. I mean, their overseas might take them, but what local ones, their students do, and they are preparing. Maybe that area imminent for local. Support them with students, blame me, so that what passing exams block it. Probably maybe need him new computer for exam, new calculator. Some probably need him buy our own bus fare, something else. Yeah? If we are not proactive, we are preparing them to fail. I think that the comment I mean like for making, but you've done well. Not forget him. No, this fella exam him schedule. You cannot do it again, but by next week no. The other week holiday. You give him holiday, that's a good one too, but in preparation for. I think that's the comment I mean like for put him all same no. Thank you, Chair.
Secretary, you want
AG might
to be intriguing or AG
AG
number?
comment. Yeah.
You are honourable member for raising that. Allowances are part of critical essential services.
Yeah.
Whenever it hits our end of the workflow, we push it right through to payments, unless there may be issues from the ministry's end, which may be taking longer for them to put it in, and also at our end, for instance, in terms of banking details and so forth. That can hold up a whole batch of payment, which means that a number of students are also held up just for the sake of one. So that can happen, but something that we are working on. But thanks for that reminder, Honourable Member. Yeah.
Well, on that note, again, I cannot overly emphasize that, we have all done so well. I want you to go back and then get ourselves, prepared for next year. And it's a good message from the PAs that there is no stoppage of the services from Treasury. But you look good no more. No good time to stop all about something. Stop to you, emotion. But for now, I want to say thank you to all of you, Governor, Secretary Finance, and all the supporting team that are here. Have a pleasant day. Thank you. The committee will now suspend until 1:30. Thank you.